Today we're getting out of the shop and heading to see if we can get a new drive shaft built. I checked online first at a few of the typical automotive shops, Summit, Jegs, Speedway, without much luck. Custom link drive shafts were available, but I thought they were a little pricey. The shafts online were estimated at around $300 to $400. I remember when I was a teenager a few years ago, I thought there were places around that fabricated drive shafts, so I decided to look locally. A Google search produced a few options, a couple of salvage yards, and a couple of big truck companies. The company I decided to use is called D&R Driveline. They're not a sponsor. We paid full price for it. You can check them out at drivelineinc.com. That's drivelineinc.com. They're located in Jenison, Michigan, about 30 minutes from my shop. The cost of my new drive shaft was $220, and that included new U-joints and the slip yoke. So I hope you enjoy the drive, and I'll try not to hit anything along the way. We've arrived at D&R Driveline, but unfortunately they won't let us shoot video inside of the fabrication of the drive shaft. But they did say that they would take some pictures of it as they progress through the building of it, and they would shoot a short video of the balancing of the drive shaft. This picture shows the mock-up drive shaft that I made up from the original drive shaft that I cut down. It's about 3/8 of an inch short, and they're going to make the new one 3/8 of an inch longer. Here we have the two 3R weld yokes at each end of the 3-inch by 0.83 steel tube that's used to make up the drive shaft. This is prior to welding. This picture is the same as the last picture, picture number 3, which shows the parts prior to welding plus the slip yoke that slides into the transmission. This picture shows the two 3R weld yokes slipped into the tube just prior to welding. This picture shows all the parts laid out, including the U-joints, just prior to welding. This picture shows the U-joints mounted and the drive shaft all assembled just before it goes to welding. This is the drive shaft after it's been all welded. This picture shows a measuring runout in the drive shaft tube. For those of you that don't know what tube runout is, it's the measurement of how straight the drive shaft tube is as it rotates around its center line. Tube runout directly affects drive shaft balance. If you have excessive runout, which is usually caused by a bent tube, you will not be able to balance the drive shaft without welding an excessive amount of weight on one side of the tube. Runout of 20/1000ths of an inch or less over the length of the tube is usually acceptable. And finally, here's the finished drive shaft, all balanced, painted with a final clear coat. This last video shows a smooth running drive shaft after the balance was completed. I want to thank D&R Driveline for providing us with these pictures and video of this drive shaft being built. They're not a sponsor, but I think they do really good work, and I'd highly recommend them if you need a drive shaft built for you. Call and ask for Dennis, and I'm sure he can help you out with whatever you need. It's time to get back to the shop now and get this shaft installed and see how it looks on the rat rod.
Faces. You gotta wait. You can go and switch your places.
We are back from the Driveshaft shop, and we're going to get ready to put it in for the first time and see what it looks like. But boy, they did a nice job on that. They did put a clear coat over it after they balanced it, and they said if I wanted to paint it, I could. I just need to Scotch Brite it, and then I could hit it with paint or primer and paint. But it looks so nice. I think I'm gonna keep it the way it is for now and go from there. What's wrong, Maya? You don't like it? What's the deal? Okay, let's get it put in. One other thing, I did make this one, I think it's 5/8 of an inch longer. Excuse me, 3/8 of an inch longer, I think, than the mock-up. Down here at this end, he likes to have it, there goes the heater. They like to have this completely engaged and about 7/8 of an inch left sticking out of the transmission. So we'll see if our added length measures out to that 7/8. 7/8 that I'm referring to is here to here. I don't know if you can see it, my fingers are kind of messed up, but anyway, we'll try it when we get it in and check it out. I first tried installing the drive shaft myself manually. After I realized that the drive shaft was too heavy for me to lift and wrestle the yoke into the tail shaft of the transmission, I had to come up with a way to hold the drive shaft horizontally at the right height to install it. I hung one end of the shaft from my cherry picker and lowered it into the frame until the yoke end was at the same height as the tail shaft of the transmission. I then swung the trailing end of the drive shaft up and into a bungee cord to get it in a horizontal position. I didn't have the camera set up to record this, unfortunately. I then positioned one of my tall jack stands under the rear of the drive shaft so that I could raise that end of the drive shaft to the height of the rear differential. I also raised the front end of the drive shaft using the cherry picker to get the drive shaft properly aligned with the transmission tail shaft. I could now push the drive shaft all the way into the transmission tail shaft. I could now move the drive shaft back towards the rear differential, and then I was able to reinstall the U-joint caps that I removed earlier and install the 4 bolts and straps. Unfortunately, my camera battery died and I did get all of the installation recorded, and I apologize for that. Well, it's in. I think it looks pretty good. I haven't measured the gap up there yet. It looks like it might be a little more than 7/8. Looks like it's about closer to an inch, but the 4-link hasn't been adjusted yet either. So, and there isn't all the weight on it completely, so that will probably cause it to move in a little bit. So, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy. Nice and shiny. Probably the last time it'll be nice and shiny. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll wrap this one up. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment if you want. And we'll see you on the next one.